welcome to Dubai Athletic. I'm Justin Harper, and it's an honor to be joined today by Seve Ashby. He's a cancer survivor. He's a men's health activist. He's many things. He's a keen cyclist, and we were going to talk more about all of these things and more right now. Seve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, where do we start? I guess cancer survivor is such a big deal and, you know, probably life-changing. Let's start with that, if that's okay.
Okay, in 2023, I had problems with urine flow, to be specific. So I had a couple of MRIs to check up, and they didn't find anything. This is as late as September of 2023, but the problem didn't go away. And so into last year, turned 70, and was thinking this isn't a really good way to, start my 70th year, which was supposed to be full of light and joy and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, long story short, a few more MRIs, and suddenly they said, oh, look, there's something there. And it turned out to be a very aggressive tumor, which hadn't been spotted 5 months previously. And then they said, oh, look, it's gone around your body. And I thought, oh, gee, I'm really winning the lottery this time. And so it's metastasized into my lymph nodes. Now, luckily, it hasn't gone into my bones or my liver, because that would be literally terminal. So what I've got is treatable, but not curable. So that was all confirmed in beginning of August last year. So my first reaction was, of course, to ask Mrs. Google, she knows everything, and look at the prognosis. And what I saw was 2.5 to 5 years.
Right.
And I lost it completely. And I just thought, I was expecting to live a lot longer than that. And it's really something when you have to confront your mortality like that. Anyway, I did a bit more research and talked to the oncologist and found out that actually that's not necessarily so. Certainly in my condition with being pretty fit and so on. But long story short, I looked around for a support group, and there wasn't anything here in the UAE. I tried to join the Prostate Cancer UK, but they said to me, we're really sorry that you've got a problem, dear, but you can't join because you're not in the UK.
Right.
So, gee, thanks. So I set my own movement up called We Rise, because, of course, one of the things that happens when you've got prostate cancer is you can't rise. And so I've been doing a lot of work around that in terms of educating men and just letting them know that once you get over the age of 45, you should be having a test every year. And if you've got history, like father or uncle, then you should be getting tested from the age of 40 every year.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys still think it's what I call FUTA, the FUTA test, which stands for finger up the, but it isn't. It's a blood test, and actually it's as painful as any little, jab is, but it gives you a huge peace of mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was diagnosed, my PSA score, which is a marker that tells you predisposition for prostate cancer to be present, and at my age it should be no more than 4. Mine was 112.
Wow.
But I had another test, another PSA test about 2 months ago. My oncologist rang me to say, you've gone from 112 down to 1.16.
Amazing.
And he said, I don't normally ring patients to tell them this, but he said, in your case, I can understand why the drop has been so dramatic. The medication you're on is good, but I'm on the very cheap stuff, not the 20,000 dirham a month. I'm on the 700 dirham a month stuff. But he said, your fitness level, your keto diet, and he said, most of all, he said, you are the most relentlessly positive person and optimistic person I've ever met. And he said, your brain is wired to keep you healthy.
Right. That's amazing. That feedback and those things that you're doing really make a difference, your mental health on your physical
health. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's part of the reason why I've segued to looking at men's loneliness, which is an epidemic of staggering proportions. Loneliness translating into quiet quitting, quiet drifting, and now quiet cracking in organizations where at quiet quitting, guys come to work and they basically sign out before they even get in the door. So they just go through the motions. Quiet drifting, where they're in more senior positions, they try and do what they can, but they feel invisible. And quiet cracking, which is what happens to a lot of senior guys, where they're hanging on by their fingernails and gradually they're slipping. They can't keep it together anymore.
Yeah.
But Forbes and McKinsey and Co. both agree that the cost to businesses in the UK alone of those issues is over $600 billion a year.
Yeah.
So it's a major, major issue. It affects men far more than it does women.
Yeah.
Over 60% of senior executives will admit to being lonely. That's an enormous proportion. And because they are the architects of the culture for the business, if they're feeling lost and lonely and unable to connect and contribute the way that they should, the rest of the organization is impacted.
Yeah.
So if you have a leadership team which feels good about themselves and each other, that works together collaboratively, then that feeds its way through the organization.
Yeah.
And that's how you build really strong, profitable organizations, by making sure that the people at the top are feeling very good about themselves and that they have mechanisms for dealing with the stress and so on. So, I teach that. I teach them how to be resilient.
Yeah.
And mostly what I teach them is to go from looking at things from an adversarial point of view to an advantage perspective. How do we move from adversity to advantage? And that's a matter of how they think.
Yeah, but it's interesting because we're talking about prostate cancer, and you're talking about, and quite rightly, you've moved on to men's health as well. Two huge issues for men.
Yeah.
But it's two things that you've tackled that sometimes some men don't even tackle one of them, and you're not just dealing with them, you're actually working on support groups and advocating, men get tested. So let's go back to the prostate cancer and we'll move on to the men's health. And it's just like, if it's so easy, it's a pinprick, and it's a small blood sample. You send it off and you'll get the results back. Why aren't men get it? Do you think they don't understand how easy it is to get tested for prostate cancer?
This is going to sound really weird, but a lot of them don't want to know.
Right.
Ignorance is bliss, but ignoring prostate cancer doesn't make it go away.
Yeah.
And so it's important to, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
And so as far as I'm concerned, my role is to provide the information and the opportunity to actually have the test. And from there, it's up to them.
Yeah.
And so I think once guys meet me and see what I've done with the information and how I've taken it on and using my relentless optimism and my ability to just to be so relentless and so resilient in the face of these kind of things, I think in some small way I might inspire them to have a go themselves.
Yeah.
And then once they have the information, then all of that doubt disappears. So
so it's best.
And it feels really, really good that they can do that for themselves.
Yeah.
And so that's like a lifelong piece of work that I'm working on.
Yeah. But you waited till you were 70, is that right? Before you actually were tested. So, obviously perhaps in hindsight you would have been tested at 40, 50. And interestingly, when I met you, I had never done the test before, and I just hit 50. I know I look 21 years old. But when I hit 50, I went and had the test, and then I remember messaging you and telling you the results. And for me, it was a bit of a relief because I'd left it for so long. At 70, I guess, that's why you're so keen to tell other men, because you personally, yeah, exactly.
Don't do what I did. I am living proof of how you can be really stupid and luckily survive, But it never occurred to me.
Yeah.
We never had prostate cancer in my family on my father's side. My father's brothers and his father all smoked, and they all died of lung cancer.
Right. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I just, through this piece of work that we're doing right now, I implore every man over the age of 40, if you've got cancer on your father's side, prostate cancer on your father's side, go and get the test.
Yeah.
If you don't, you should start having a test at 45. Because what's happening is, whereas prostate cancer used to be the province of old men, now prostate cancer is becoming more and more prevalent, as other cancers are, and it's becoming more prevalent down the age scale.
Oh, right. Okay.
For example, take a famous guy like Sir Chris Hoy. He's 48, 49,
Yeah.
and he had his first test, and because he felt like he had a lump in his shoulder, turned out to be a tumor, and it wasn't just in his shoulder; it was in his bones,
Right.
and it's terminal.
Yeah.
It's tragic. I mean, his wife suffers from aggressive ME. And they've got 2 young children.
Yeah.
It's just a tragedy.
Yeah. Is there any regional differences? Certain regions like the Middle East, where we are now, compared to Europe, there where it's more prevalent, or is it just generally a global?
Well, for a start, that depends on how much testing is actually done. So probably I would say in Europe and the US, there are more guys who go and get tested. Whereas over here, it's less likely, because there are social taboos in place about talking about any issues that are kind of below the navel,
Right.
which is fair enough. It's a cultural thing,
Yeah.
but it has an impact potentially.
Yeah.
So I think it is. It's whether it's more prevalent in one country or another. I think the message is exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you value your own life, if you value the life, if you want to continue to have a fabulous life with your family, with your kids and with your wife and so on, do everybody a favor and go and get tested.
Yeah. When you were talking to other men about what happened to you and encouraging them to do it, and we know men of a certain age, 40, 50, 60, we're not great at expressing ourselves and talking about our problems. Did that naturally lead you to think, right, now I see an issue with mental health and loneliness there, or that was something you were going to do anyway, or were the two connected to each other?
It was something that I've been thinking about for a while, because I've suffered terribly from loneliness myself over the years, and finding out that I had stage 4 prostate cancer caused me to reevaluate a lot of things in my life, and also shifting priorities around and understanding how things were connected that I was thinking about. And I thought, I think I'm on this planet to make a difference. I'm noisy. I know I have the ability to enthuse and inspire people just with sheer force of personality. And so, I've taken that comment, do good, and I have turned it into something really practical. I'm a very practical person. I think ideas and strategies are wonderful, but I always say, okay, you got the strategy, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to dealing with issues like mental health and physical health, and this plays exactly to what you are doing, the really important thing is not to have a lot of rah-rah about it. The really important thing is to sweat,
Right. Yeah.
like me on the front lawn with my stretchy bands,
Yeah.
and I get out there. The days I'm not cycling, I cycle 4 days a week. So the other 3 days I'm out there building up a body strength.
Yeah.
And it feels great. And part of the reason why it feels so good, and going back to the stuff that you're doing, committing to an exercise program builds internal fortitude, because what you learn about yourself is your ability to overcome oh no, I'm too tired. The hardest part of exercise in the morning? See these things here, your feet?
Yeah.
It's getting them from here onto the floor.
Yeah.
And once you've done that and you've got your feet on the floor, you're committed.
Yeah.
And from then on, it's simple. You just pull the gear on, hop in the car, or hop on the bike, or do whatever you need to do. The hardest part is that decision that you make every day to do another small piece that will ensure that you will have a long, healthy and happy life.
Yeah.
The endorphins that flow from exercise are the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
The dopamine that flows are the things that make you want to go and do things again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just going for a run, simple things like that. You don't have to run fast.
No,
just
or
going
walk.
for a run,
You
or
can
yeah,
even walk.
even a walk, or swim in the ocean and stuff like that. It's just so. It just seems so simple, but we seem to be going the other way with the sedentary lifestyle, with our mobile phones,
Yep.
with our doom scrolling.
Yep.
You know, we're going the other way, and it's like, what is happening in our brains that are pushing us away from these simple, healthy things towards these addictive, you know, sort of time-wasting devices.
There's a couple of things that are happening. One is that our subconscious reinforces whatever our conscious brain thinks about. So if our conscious brain thinks, look, I'm just going to sit here and scroll for a while, and you know, this is fine, I'm okay. Your brain goes, yeah, you know what? Your subconscious, yeah, you know what? That's fine. You don't need to talk to the other people. They're boring anyway. Just keep, you're bound to find something really interesting. So just keep scrolling. Or when it comes to exercise, I'm not feeling very good. My leg hurts. I'll just miss today. And your subconscious goes, yeah, look, that's exactly what you should do. You need to rest. Just stay where you are. And so your subconscious, that's neuroscience for you. Your subconscious is reinforcing whatever not instructions, but whatever position you're taking positively.
Yeah.
Whereas if you say, yeah, my leg's hurting, but I'm getting up anyway, your brain goes, or your subconscious goes, exactly right. That shows that you're strong and so on. You're getting your legs out of bed. Good on you. Do it again tomorrow. Brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Or you say, no, I'm just going to put the phone down for a while. Absolutely right. Put the phone down for a while. You'll be better for it. So your brain is like a little dog that everything that you tell it, it goes, and it does.
Yeah.
So tell it the right stuff and it will follow suit. And so that's where coaching comes in, which is what I am. I coach people to send messages to themselves that their subconscious picks up and takes as being gospel. Aristotle once said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but it's a habit.
Yeah.
How do you change a habit? By repetition. How do you get repetition in place? By rewiring your brain to expect Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're out on the lawn doing the stretchy bands. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, we're on the bike and we're cycling.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, my brain thinks there's something wrong with me. So I'm getting these urgent messages at 4 o'clock. Why aren't you up?
Yeah. But you've been fit and exercising for 50 years, more than that? Or it's always been part of your life and your routine. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been part of my life.
Yeah.
When I was 2, I started, I think, when I was 2, old enough to walk. My parents used to tell me this wonderful story of, I used to run like crazy when I was a kid. I never learned to walk. I went from crawling to running.
Right.
And I used to, Mum and Dad would take us for picnics. It was just me and my sister at the time. And I'd put my hands over my eyes and I would face them and walk backwards with my hands over my eyes so they couldn't see me, because if I couldn't see them, they couldn't see me.
Yeah.
And then I'd turn around and run like hell.
So from a very young age, you started to run and it stayed with you, and you're now a keen.
Rowing,
you cycle,
cricket,
crazy amount of
rugby, football, tennis, squash. I've given it most of the sports a bit of a lash.
Yeah.
Did a lot of marathon running, sub 240 marathons.
Yeah.
So I was pretty quick from big guy comparatively.
Yeah. So how can you relate to people who've never had that sporty background, and you're trying to encourage them to be more active? You know, like remembering what it's first like. Well, you never even remember what it's first like because you never were inactive, and that's the issue now. How do you get people off the couch? How do you do it without preaching to them, trying to force them like it's punishment, like making it easy? I just wonder.
I think it was some bloke called Lao Tzu who came up with this fabulous little saying: a journey of 1,000 miles starts with
the first step.
A single step.
Yeah. But it's making that first step.
And that's where coaching comes in. And that's where, going back to what I was talking about prostate cancer, you can't force people to do anything against their will. They'll do it once, but that's just one step up from slavery. Okay? the best coaching is where you lay out some options and allow people to choose an option which they can see on the face of it looks better than not doing anything.
Yeah.
And there's another wonderful saying that people will only change when the pain of staying where they are is greater than the pain of making the change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think what you guys are doing around bringing sport to more and more people and physical fitness and awareness is really crucial. And you don't need to be buffed. You don't need to be down on the beach doing 300 push-ups or running around with the weights. And I'm not decrying what those guys do. It's fabulous.
No.
But for the average Joe Blow who's got kids and a wife and he works like crazy, going to the gym, and even if all he's doing is getting on the treadmill slightly faster than a tortoise, it doesn't matter. He's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Very interesting, because I was going to bring up social media and influencers.
Yep.
And I've got 2 teenage sons, and they obviously do other things. They're told not to get on their phones, but they're on their phones. I looked at what they're doing, and they're looking at 6-pack guys, buff guys in Dubai, and there's quite a few influencers in Dubai there. And I say, look, these are highly curated images. Yes, he maybe looks like that. He could be taking performance-enhancing drugs or steroids, or he could be photoshopping some of these things. You've got to be really careful, because you go to the gym and no, you don't look like that, but never give up going to the gym. And so that's like all of these forces against you, to stop you getting off your backside and doing it because you think you have to look perfect.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. The pressures on young men, middle-aged men, older men is so high to look perfect, but it feels like unattainable at the same time.
For a lot of guys, it is unattainable. I mean, when I cycle down the beach on a Sunday morning, I'm going along at sort of 6 o'clock in the morning, and there are guys who are absolutely ripped, absolutely ripped. They stand out. Why? Because there's 1 in 30 of the guys down on the beach who look like that.
Yeah.
1 in 30 or 1 in 50.
Yeah.
You know? But there, in addition to the guys and the beautifully sculpted girls with the lips and all of that sort of stuff, who spend a fortune on how they look, the tats and the haircut and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of people who are out there doing their thing, and it's their thing that counts. And it's from the baseline that I help them create for themselves. It's the improvements from their baseline that are much more important than trying to be something that they have to spend 8 hours a day on. And these guys are personal trainers anyway. Yeah. So it's part of their job.
Yeah, exactly.
What they are doing is they're there for show.
Yeah.
And so if you're a personal trainer and you turn up with, wrinkles in your arms like I've got, people are going to go, why am I spending money with you? But if you turn up and, every single ab is beautifully cut and etc., people are going, oh yeah, I'm getting my money's worth. I'm being taught by this guy. And they go, oh God, I wish I was going to be like you. Not a chance.
No.
So the exact message that you're giving your sons of stop thinking about what other people could be. Think about what you can be. Baseline. Everything's about the baseline. With physical fitness and mental fitness, everything is about the baseline. Establish a baseline, which I help men do through the UCLA loneliness survey that I send out to people. Because people say, oh, I'm lonely. I go, how lonely are you? Oh, what do you mean, how lonely? I said, lonely is not binary. I'm lonely, I'm not lonely. Yeah. Loneliness is a spiral. And the further on down the spiral you get, the more you disengage, disembodied, and then you end up right at the bottom, which is disintegration, which is why men's suicide rates are 3 times higher than women's.
Yeah.
Because men don't know how to, once you're in that spiral, you just don't know how to stop.
But how do you spot loneliness? What are the sort of warning signs you're like, look, you're lonely, you might not think it, but you are?
Probably the best way initially is to have a good hard look at your ability to connect with people. That's where it starts. You pull back from people, you realize you haven't spoken to friends for some time. A friend will say to you, are you okay? We haven't spoken for a couple of months. It's never been like that before. Are you okay? And of course, you use that 4-letter word, the terrible 4-letter word that starts with F, fine. I'm fine. But you're not. Yeah. You're not fine. And so So one of the other things that I'm doing is as part of the whole coaching piece, is to help guys to understand what the warning signs are for them. And if somebody who you trust says to you, "Are you okay?" don't just brush it off. Have a good hard look and ask yourself, the very first question, why am I not connecting with people I've always connected with? Oh, okay, I need to think a bit more about this, and maybe I need to talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
And then, because the trouble is, once you get inside that bubble, it's very hard to see out. The Australians have a fabulous saying: when you're up to your fundamental and alligators, it's really hard to think about draining the swamp. And the trouble is, the more alligators you've got snapping at you, the harder it is to think about, what's the context of my relationships being. And that's what happens to leaders. Leaders get lonely, they don't have anybody to talk to, so they withdraw, they get home. Guys I'm talking to who are leaders of large organizations say, I can't talk to my wife about this. She's got her own problems, so I don't talk to her.
Yeah.
So I say, well, what's happening to the quality of the conversation? And what it turns out is the conversation becomes banal.
Yeah.
They never talk about anything of substance.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to upset her about what's happening at work and how he's feeling. She doesn't want to inquire because that might look as though she's, she is intruding. And after a while, lots of terrible things happening. One suspects the other because they're not talking and they don't say where they've been. Guess what? Oh, he must be having an affair. She must be having an affair.
Yeah.
And so many problems in relationships are about the inability to connect, which is why one of my little online courses, little mini course that I've done over 7 days, is called Do Try This at Home.
Right.
And what it is, it's a simple course that teaches men how to have a non-violent communication with their wives. So it's not aggressive and it's not you always, you never. It's this is how I'm feeling. Can we sit down and have a talk? We haven't had a talk for quite some time. And not interrupting. And a few other things like that. And inviting their partner to speak.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about things at the moment? Yeah. And it's extraordinary what difference it makes.
Are you also encouraging men to physically meet? Because online is obviously convenient and we've had that during COVID, but are you also trying to get men to physically meet up and because they're more likely to open up in a room with other men?
There are these, we'll call them clubs, men's clubs, springing up all over the world in answer to this exact problem. So I'm not doing that myself. There's other guys who are doing that. What I'm doing is creating a series of what I call connection hubs. And we're in one right now here at Raw.
Right.
And the idea is one of my other mini courses is called One Connection Away. And so I'm teaching men the very simple art of saying hello to somebody. Just initiate a conversation. Hi, that's a really cool computer. Do you mind if I ask you about it? Or, hi, that's a great pen or great watch. Can you, I'm really into watches. What's your watch? And all of a sudden, you get a conversation going. Now, it's interesting that for a lot of men, that's extremely difficult to do.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but you might get rebuffed a few times. But after a while, keep persevering, and somebody will say, "Yeah, it's a Chrono Swiss. I bought it 15 years ago, and I love it. It's beautiful."
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it turns out, I've got some amazing Rolexes. I've got a Submariner, and I've got this and this. I really like watches. Oh, really? Have a seat.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Boom, boom, and all of a sudden, there's a
You've
conversation.
made a connection. Sounds like dating, like the numbers game. So for every 10 women that you chat to, 9 will reject you, but 1 will say yes. But
Is that how bad? Oh no, my score's much better than that.
I'm not saying that's my ratio.
No,
that's my number. That's what I've heard. That's what I've read on. That's what I've read.
Well, of course.
That's
Someone told me that.
That's what ChatGPT told me. But generally, it's like you might not always get that connection straight away, but don't give up.
Stop.
Be persistent.
Yeah, don't stop. One of the other things that I teach is the fact that all communication is a conversation. And there are 5 conversations. The first conversation is conversation for being related. Like you and I, when we first met, there was something that we started talking about, right? And we realized that we had something in common and we enjoyed each other's company and talking. The next conversation is conversation for possibility. okay, now that we understand each other and I know what you do and you know what I do, what could we do that's possible? Well, what we could do is, why don't we do something like an interview, and film it? Yeah, great possible. And let's see where that goes. Conversation for opportunity, backwards and forwards. Well, when are you available? Where could we do it? Well, let's do it at Raw, and we nailed down a date. Right, conversation for action, we're doing it. The next piece after that is conversation for resolving breakdowns, because with every breakthrough, there's a breakdown.
Right.
And so you need to be prepared for things not to go as planned. The old story, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So you need to have something in place. And for us, it'll probably mean that I will forget, because my memory is really bad, I'll forget to send you the footage of the cycle.
You've already done that. So.
I've already done it once, so you're prepared, right?
I'm ready
for it. You now have a strategy in place, because if you leave it to me, I'll forget. In 2 days' time, I'll forget I was even here. So you've got a strategy in place for dealing with that. There is your conversation for resolving breakdowns.
Yeah.
And it is an extraordinarily powerful way of going from a conversation that's just having a chat through to action. And if you take that into what you're doing with men's health, and physical health, or into a boardroom where there's a strategy. So as far as I'm concerned, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And what is culture? What we do, what we say, how we act. And it's all very visible, and it's about getting the relationships, looking at the possibilities, figuring out what are the opportunities that come out of those possibilities, taking action. Taking action.
Yeah. So you're a busy man helping other people, which is great, trying to support people using, as you said, your resilience, that mental health. Is it too much to say you were felt like you were given a second chance back then with the...
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
Unquestionably. It's a really bizarre thing to say, but getting stage 4 cancer, prostate cancer, has given me a whole new lease of life. Isn't it bizarre?
It is to think, it's like when you have a near-death experience and suddenly you become a better person.
You realise
but it only...
the way, exactly. And it's been, it's changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're doing a lot there. And I guess, finally it's like for men in general, we're having a tough time with things, and no one's going to get into equality and women's, right to work and earn the same amount of money. But men suddenly have kind of felt a little bit disenfranchised, and they've kind of lost their way a little bit, and we can't kind of talk about it as much because, it's like we've always been the dominating person there. And it's like, so where's our voice? And we can't talk to each other. And it's like, what is the next, what's next for us, as men, I guess?
Women have been in positions of authority for quite a long time. And now there are more and more women in positions of authority, which I think is amazing, because some of the best CEOs I've ever met are women, because they are less bound up in themselves in terms of being the strong, they have to be strong and so on and so forth. This is a culture shift of the way that men think about themselves, and the strong silent type and breadwinner and all of those kind of things. They're things that, we talk about, they're in our DNA, and cave hunters and all this sort of stuff. We were the ones who carried the spear and dragged the woolly mammoth back, and the missus did the cooking, which I don't know how much of that is actually true or not. But what I do know is that men better get over that really fast, because there is a herd of elephants thundering down the track towards them, and it's called AI.
Right.
So if you're a leader and you're coming to grips with your role as a man and your position in the family and your sense of whether or not you're an authentic man, and you've got AI coming, you better get your together pretty quickly, because this stuff is going to ride right over you. And so both at a individual male level and at an organizational level, there is a big change going to come.
Yeah.
And men would do really well to to put away that old belief about, that's really Stone Age, put away that belief and see the women who are in their lives as being a lot more resilient frequently than they are, a huge source of support, and change the relationship that they have with women. Women are not men. You know that book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
Written, God, when I was allowed, so it must be a long time ago.
Yeah, decades.
But it's true. Men don't have to be like women and women don't have to be like men, but you get a relationship of two people who are communicating effectively and who have high regard for each other, which in some circles we call love, but they're comfortable with each other and they support each other. That is, that's gold. That's absolute gold.
Yeah.
I look at my brothers and sisters, and we've all been through divorces. Two of them haven't, but a couple of them have. And I look at the quality of the relationships that they have now, and the mutual respect and the trust and the communication. They would think that's just how you do it, We've been together for 40 years, I mean, Annie is my brother John, so Annie's a little bit, she's a bit about, when I come home after I've had too many beers and I want to sing.
Right.
My brother John has a thing that he does at family reunions where he sings that wonderful song by Don McLean, Crying, and he's got a bottle of beer, and as the crying bits, he tips the bottle of beer
over his head.
over his head. So John. But I think it's high time for men to stop thinking about all the reasons why they're upset with their partners. She never does. She always, and so on, which is a violent way of thinking about them. Accusatory. She always. You never. So on and so forth. And start thinking about them as being the most valuable resource in their lives. Yeah. And you take that through to what they're doing physically in terms of their health. Getting out. If their relationship's bad, their partner's going to say, "Oh, not more smelly gym gear. Why don't you wash it yourself?" Versus if the relationship's good, put it over there. I'll put it on with the wash. I think it's great that you're getting out and going to the gym 3 days a week. That's wonderful. You're looking better.
Yeah.
Oh, am I? Yeah, I can see the difference. Oh, that's amazing. Guess what? Woo!
Yes.
You go off to work and you think, my wife loves me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
about? Little things like that,
it's little things.
Yeah.
But life consists of a series of little things, little victories. Yeah. I mean, we're on this planet for a really long time. I'm going to be here till I'm 100, right? That's a lot of days. And I don't expect to have earth-shattering revelatory moments every day. No. What I like is if something little happens in the day that makes me think, oh, that feels good.
Yeah.
Then it's a day well spent,
Yeah.
There's those 6-minute diaries that are now very popular. What is the one thing that happened today that I am grateful for? And you write down, what am I grateful for? And most people don't even think about this. What I'm grateful for is that the self-opening door that slammed into me, 10-foot high door that slammed into me this morning when I was going to a meeting at close range, I was only 2 feet away from it, didn't hit my face.
Right.
It hit me in the chest.
Yeah.
Knocked me over.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because I was off to a really important meeting, which went fantastically well.
Yeah, great. Would have not gone so well with a bloody nose and,
No, I'll be sitting here like this.
Yeah. I can almost predict your next support group will be how I survived AI or I lost my job through machine learning support group, and maybe a divorcees one. So I'm already trying to get inside your head as in how can I support and help the next big issue coming up for men.
With how I lost my job through AI, the support group will be how I assimilated AI into my work and my life. So I didn't give away control.
No.
I saw HI for what it is. It's a way of doing things faster, smoother, better, but it isn't going to do the thinking for me.
Yeah.
And so how do I pivot? I'm a huge believer in this concept of pivot. And so helping people to look out a little bit and say, this is coming towards me. How do I pivot to make sure that I stay in charge. Me, with my cancer, how do I pivot instead of thinking, that's it, I'm gone, I'm done? How do I pivot so that I can still lead a life that when I'm on my deathbed at 100, I don't look back full of regret. I say, that was a life well lived.
And what a way to end our interview on that note, Steve.
Sounds very
profound, but it's a good way to end it. But thanks very much for talking to us.
Pleasure.
And good luck with all of the initiatives you're doing.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. And if you want to listen to more inspiring interviews, head over to Dubai Athletic on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.